Professional ethics and responsibilities. Now let's think about what is ethics and what is responsibilities. Ethics are moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. Responsibility is a state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone. In engineering, our ethics and responsibilities are when we create or build something, we have to know it's for the greater good, it'll be beneficial for society and not cause harm.
Like other engineering disciplines, software engineering is carried out within a social and legal framework that limits the freedom of people working in that area. As a software engineer, you must accept that your job involves wider responsibilities than simply the application of technical skills. You must also behave in an ethical and morally responsible way if you are to be respected as a professional engineer. It goes without saying that you should uphold normal standards of honesty and integrity. You should not use your skills and abilities to behave in a dishonest way or in a way that will bring disrepute to the software engineering profession.
So, in the engineering profession, certain issues will arise where you'll encounter issues such as ethical issues or something that your employer is asking you to do that you have to basically question whether or not it's good for the public. And then you have to actually weigh that with the fact that this is your job and you have to basically make money to pay your bills and feed your family. So a lot of times, with the abilities that we have gained, we basically we are asked to do things that might compromise our moral integrity. So basically, almost on a daily basis, we have to kind of check ourselves and make sure that we're following the proper guidelines with as far as ethics go for engineers, even if it's against the will of our employers. So in our fields, we do encounter challenges and opportunities. I'm going to go with example B. Engineer B learns that his employer is violating environmental regulations relating to acceptable toxicity levels of waste materials being released by the employer's industrial facility. Does he report this fact to the public authorities or the media? And that's something that we do have to ask ourselves. A lot of times we're going to be put in charge of things that will benefit the company, and it may or may not be the best thing for the public, the environment, for the people, and it's something that we have to definitely take a look at and decide whether we're going to go with the way of money or if we're going to go with our ethics. Engineers do have ethical societies that they've formed to try to prevent this, but we have to ask ourselves as STEM workers, where do we stand in all this?
The National Society of Professional Engineers and organizations such as ACM, the IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, and the British Computer Society all have their own code of conduct or code of moral ethics that they all follow. If you would like to learn more information, links have been provided in the text.
Now, the National Society for Professional Engineers has their own code of ethics for their engineers. Most engineers have their own code of ethics, like software engineering has their own, which we'll get to later on. And now, this society is for overall engineering. They have their own code of ethics, and usually these code of ethics are for any of their members. But as an engineer, we can follow this as well, whether you're a member to their society or not. Here you'll see their preamble that states engineering is an important and learned profession. As members of this profession, engineers are expected to exhibit the highest standards of honesty and integrity. Engineering has a direct and vital impact on the quality of life for all people. Accordingly, the services provided by engineers require honesty, impartiality, fairness, and equity, and must be dedicated to the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare. Engineers must perform under a standard of professional behavior that requires adherence to the highest principles of ethical conduct. Under their code of ethics, there are fundamental canons. Engineers, in fulfillment of their professional duties, shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. 2. Perform services only in areas of their competence. 3. Issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. 4. Act for each employer or client as faithful agents and trustees. 5. Avoid deceptive acts. And 6. Conduct themselves honorably, responsibly, ethically, and lawfully so as to enhance their honor, reputation, and usefulness in this profession.
So, 5 rules of practice are 1. Engineers shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. Basically, like I said before, we have certain powers here. We have certain strengths that will allow us to shape the future. Basically, that's kind of what we signed up for when we got into this field. Our work will help shape the future. And a lot of times, if we work for corporations and so on and so forth, we do have these questions of whether or not we are holding the public safety in the back of our minds as we do certain things that we're asked to do. So we definitely have to consider the safety and health of the public first before we decide to do anything. Second, we have engineers shall perform services only in the areas of their competence. So basically, if I'm an electrical engineer, I should just make sure that I'm doing what's within my scope of practice. I shouldn't go into another type of practice that I am not qualified to make decisions or to contribute to. For 3, engineers shall issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. Right. So we shouldn't be going out there making public statements on behalf of the company to benefit the company and if we're not telling the truth, that's definitely a no-no. We should be truthful as far as ethics go. That's as far as, it stops right there. Engineers shall act for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees. So basically what we have to do with that is we have to make sure that we're faithful agents for the employer, and we're just doing right by the employer without jeopardizing the safety of the public, as in Rule 1. And finally, engineers shall avoid deceptive acts. We should not deceive the public or other people just so that we can make our work easier, just so that we can make a little bit of money. As far as ethics go, it stops with us.
Professional obligations. Engineers shall be guided in all their relations by the highest standards of honesty and integrity. Engineers shall at all times strive to serve the public interest. Engineers shall avoid all conduct or proactive that deceives the public. Engineers shall not disclose without consent confidential information concerning the business affairs of technical processes of any present or former client or employer or public body on which they serve. Engineers shall not be influenced in their professional duties by conflicting interests. Engineers shall not attempt to obtain employment or advancement or professional engagement by untruthfully criticizing.
Now, continuing on with professional obligations, engineers shall not attempt to injure, maliciously or falsely, directly or indirectly, the professional reputation, prospects, practice, or employment of other engineers. Engineers who believe others are guilty of unethical or illegal practice shall present such information to the proper authority for action. Engineers shall accept personal responsibility for their professional activities provided, however, the engineers may seek indemnification for services arising out of their practice for other than gross negligence where the engineer's interests cannot otherwise be protected. Engineers shall give credit for engineering work to those whom credit is due and will recognize the proprietary interests of others. Now, that puts a conclusion to all the code of conducts for National Society of Professional Engineers. Continuing on, I did mention that software engineering does have their own engineering code of ethics and professional practices. This that I provided for you guys is a short version of it, but in the references on the bottom, you can see the full version as well. And software engineers, they have their code of conduct going forward as such. Their preamble, in the short version, summarizes aspirations at a high level of abstraction. The clauses that are concluded in the full version give examples and details of how these aspirations change the way we act as software engineering professionals. Without the aspirations, the details can become legalistic and tedious. Without the details, the aspirations can become high-sounding but empty. Together, the aspirations and the details form a cohesive code. Software engineers shall commit themselves to making the analysis, specification, design, development, testing, and maintenance of software a beneficial and respected profession. In accordance with their public commitment to the health, safety, and welfare of the public, software engineers shall adhere to the following 8 principles that we've listed for you. Now, as you can tell, software engineers, they do a lot of coding, which can also be used for bad things as well, where we get hackers. And there are ethical hackers and there are unethical hackers. So continuing on, you will hear the 8 different principles that software engineers have in their code of ethics and professional practice.
Number 1. Public. Software engineers shall act consistently with the public interest. Basically, this means that software engineers should take into consideration the wants and needs of the general public when developing and designing a new product intended for general use by the public. Number 2. Client and employer. Software engineers shall act in a manner that is in the best interest of the client and employer consistent with the public interest. This is similar to number 1, but also including privacy of the client as well. Number 3. Product. Software engineers shall ensure that their products and related modifications meet the highest professional standards possible. Companies should be using high quality or very close to high quality materials when designing their products, and the testing that backs their product must meet certain standards in order to be considered safe, reliable, and usable by the general public, while also upholding the high standards of the software engineering profession. Number 4. Judgment. Software engineers shall maintain integrity and independence in their professional judgment. Software engineers must be able to make decisions with strong confidence while also keeping personal opinions separate from these decisions.
Number 5, management. Software engineering managers and leaders shall subscribe to and promote an ethical approach to the management of software development and maintenance. Basically, as far as software engineering goes, we have to make sure that we are being ethical with the things that we develop as far as software goes. And a lot of these rules have to do with privacy of the public. This is a huge thing that we definitely have to take into consideration. Number 6, profession. Software engineers shall advance the integrity and reputation of the profession consistent with the public interest. So yes, we have to make sure that we're being we keep our integrity intact, and we do have to worry about our reputation as engineers. It's important as far as what the public sees us. 7, colleagues. Software engineers shall be fair to and supportive of their colleagues. That kind of goes without saying anything there. We definitely have to make sure that we are being fair to our colleagues and we're working together to, everybody has to feed their family. Everybody has to be ethical. And 8, self. Software engineers shall participate in lifelong learning regarding the practice of their profession and shall promote an ethical approach to the practice of the profession. Yes, in this field in STEM, there's definitely lifelong learning. What you know today might not be relevant in 6 months or even in 2 years. So we do have to keep learning, and this is something that we have to keep in mind.
Here are 5 questions for the audience. I will give my personal answers to the first 3 and leave the last 2 for you to answer on your own. If given the opportunity to work for a company that invades privacy but offers a high starting salary, what would you do? If your company had unethical practices, would you be a whistleblower? If a company offered you $1 million to sell your company's secrets, would you do it? What if you were about to be let go from the company for unfair reasons? What are your ethical responsibilities as a computer scientist, computer engineer, or electrical engineer? Lastly, would you join one of these engineering societies and follow the code of conduct? For the first question, you have to consider why the company is invading privacy in the first place. Are they doing so in order to protect the nation, such as the NSA or the FBI? Or are they invading your privacy, getting your information, your records, in order to provide a better service to you and recommend certain products or services to you that are beneficial to you? Or is this company actually invading privacy against the greater good? Depending on you as a person, you can make this decision. And the higher salary can also have an influence in, on your answer, depending on your current situation. Are you in the best position where this high salary is good but not necessarily needed? Or are you struggling and you will do whatever it takes, even if it goes against your own moral values, in order to support yourself? My answer to the second question: if my company had unethical practices, it would depend on where I was in the company. If I was in a starting position and I just started to learn about the company and its ways, I would probably try to inform somebody of the unethical practices. But there is a catch to it. There could be a backfire to my whistleblowing, where people already know about what's going on, and seeing that I am trying to go against the company could lead me to lose my job for no reason. However, if the unethical practices have not gone noticed, then there's still a possibility that I could provide some help and assistance to alert someone about what is going on and potentially stop future issues and problems that could lead to something far worse. Now, if you were in an upper position, what would be the reasoning as to why you were whistleblowing? Are you exposing your unethical practices and you do not wish to be associated with such bad practices anymore, so you are essentially throwing yourself under the bus? Or were you, when placed in the upper position, say as a promotion or something, you discovered these unethical practices, would you risk your new position for the greater good of the company, even if it meant risking losing that position? My answer to the third question: considering both parts, if your company did let you go for unfair reasons, there would be a sort of anger and possible hatred towards the company that you would want to do something to go against them. But does what you want to do go against your own values? Would selling secrets that you know for some extra cash be worth the legal troubles that would come afterwards? Or even if there weren't any legal troubles, would you be able to live with the guilt that you potentially disrupted or even brought down a company by giving away their secrets because of some anger you had against them, for them firing you for potential reasons that maybe could have been explained had you gone and asked? Here are the references used to provide the information given to you in this presentation.